welcome back to the Rochester Local Podcast. My name is Becky Montpetit. I am the owner of Rochester Local, and today I am joined by Lori Sam. Hi, Lori.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're in the studio. I cannot wait to ask you a million different questions. I know you're
I'm ready.
Are you ready? But before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor, First Alliance Credit Union, for sponsoring the Rochester Local Podcast, as well as the Edit Shop for the wonderful, beautiful styling of our fabulous studio. So now that we are here, Lori, thank you so much for joining us. I love where we met. Yes. I love that we met at the powwow.
Yeah.
The Rochester Public Schools
Graduation powwow.
Graduation powwow. Will you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I was actually on the committee this past year because my daughter was a senior and she was graduating, so she was one of the honorees. Mm-hmm. But I personally, we do this all the time. Mm-hmm. Where I grew up in Tama, Iowa, mm-hmm. where my mom is a tribal member. We always had powwows every year to celebrate the graduations of not only our high schools, but our college graduates. Uh-huh. And when we came here, I didn't know there was much natives in this area, mm-hmm. but I was actually pulled in by Guthrie Capicella, and he was like, we're going to do a powwow. I'm like, mm-hmm. oh, that's fabulous. So when it came down to my daughter graduating, I'm like, okay, I want to be on the committee. I want to help plan this. And so what we do is we give blankets, usually it's star quilts or Pendletons, mm-hmm. and then we do a feathering ceremony. Then we have dancers come in. There's always a head dancer, like mm-hmm. a men's head dancer, mm-hmm. and then a ladies' head dancer. Mm-hmm. Then we have our MCs, usually one or two, and then arena director that helps navigate the powwow. And then drum groups. Yeah,
I found it so fascinating. And as I got to know you, and I found out that you're a member of the Mille band of Ojibwe.
That's correct.
And you are also a jingle dancer.
I am. I dance.
I loved. I loved this. I went home after meeting you and attending this powwow. I looked up jingle dancing. I read about jingle dancing, and I found it to be so wonderful and beautiful and fascinating. Will you tell me about jingle dancing?
Yeah, so actually when I was a little kid, my parents went to powwows all the time. And when I got to be a little bigger and I was like, yeah, I want to dance. And I don't know if I chose it or they chose it for me, but it was so much fun. Just every person has their own style, but you have your own category, which you try to like dance to, which is mm-hmm. a jingle for me. And that's actually like the Ojibwe were actually the ones that, that's where the jingle just dance originated from.
Okay.
It's a healing dance. So I grew up actually going to dancing both jingle dress and fancy shawl.
Okay.
I did both. I don't know why I did both, but.
And for those that might not be familiar, what is a jingle dress?
Yeah, so a jingle dress has a lot of jingles on it, which mm-hmm. are, from what I understand, it was first made with the top lids of snuff.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And you just like took it off and you like rolled them up and you put them on your dress and you had like 100 maybe on your dress.
Sure.
And so when you're dancing, you hear the jingles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just covered. It's a beautiful garment, mm-hmm. and the dress is almost like layered in tiers.
Yes.
With these jingles, right? Yep. And so when you're rhythmically dancing to the beat,
yes,
then you hear these beautiful jingles.
It sounds so beautiful when all these people are like dancing the same dance, all jingles. It sounds so pretty with the drum.
It for me, it was really moving to hear it, and I got to hear it a little bit at the powwow too.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating. So you do travel to powwows.
I do. I wish I could do it more, but mostly within the state or surrounding states. So this past weekend, I went to Shakopee, like Mystic Lake Casino.
Yeah.
And they have their annual powwow. It's mm-hmm. every year, around the same time in August. Mm-hmm. And it's just huge. The very first night, they were saying there was 1,047 dancers registered.
What?
Yes, huge powwow.
That's
I love
amazing.
It. Yes.
You were telling me that the powwow in Rochester, beautiful, wonderful, but small.
Very small.
And that they're huge, and this is a good representation. So there's 1,047 dancers, and that doesn't include everybody that's coming to watch then, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, the parking is like ginormous area. I mean, that tribe is really rich, and so they have a really good system there. Uh-huh. So you park pretty far, and then you come and go to the arena by golf cart.
Golf cart?
Yes.
Everybody?
anybody that you can walk all the way if you'd like to, but golf carts come and like, hey, would you like a ride? And you get back on and you just go to the arena, and it's just huge.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And it lasts how many days?
Usually, I mean, well, I know powwows is usually a Friday 7 o'clock session. Saturday's usually a 1 and 7 o'clock session, and then Sunday usually a 1 o'clock session.
Okay.
But powwows are so different. It could be a 1-session powwow like the Rochester Public School District, or it could be a 1-day powwow. It could be like celebrating a proclamation, which I do in Tama. I mean, it just really depends on the powwow committee and how much funding they have for it.
Sure. Okay. Wow. And so there's different categories during the powwow.
Yep.
And then are there winners?
Yes.
Okay.
So actually, there's 2 different kind of powwows. Usually the one that most people attend now are like you compete.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you are like the best dancer, you could win, $1,200. Or it's a traditional powwow and you get paid day money.
Okay.
So it's just if you dance, and then they would pay you, whatever they can afford.
Okay.
$50 maybe, or whatever it is.
Sure.
So.
Is there a season that's powwow season, or are they really held year round?
They are year round, but around this area in Midwest, since winter's, around, it's usually summertime. And that's how I remember going to powwows. Usually start during the summertime. Yeah. And when there's no school.
Yeah. And dancers of all age can participate.
Yes, all the way from the babies that barely are able to walk to the elders. I've seen someone dance till they're like 82 or close to 90.
Oh, wow.
If they can still do it, they get out there. It's really a sight to see. It's beautiful.
And I suppose it's a huge sense of community.
Yes.
At these powwows.
Yes.
And, at least the powwow at Rochester Public Schools, I saw there were vendors and there were craftsmen and craftspeople that you could buy from, and family members. So it lent a huge sense of pride and family and community.
Yes.
There. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that if you go like, what we call it is a powwow trail. So like, oh, we're going to go to this powwow. Okay, which one are you going to next? And then like coming up is one in Eagle Butte. So people are like, oh, you can go to Eagle Butte. There's one this coming week. There's like powwows year round. And some people just travel everywhere. Yeah. Like there's one coming up in Washington State. Yeah. And it's just like, wow, I wish I can go to these, but I got a family and a job.
Sure. Well, maybe someday you can head out to Washington State. So I suppose you run into the same people then when you head to these powwows. Friends that you've made at one powwow, you will see at another powwow. So that lends to the community feel and friendships made and that sort of thing. So you have friends in the Jingle dress category then?
Every category. Even people that don't really dance or participate, but attend just to watch as a spectator. Yeah. Yes. You just run into them and like, oh, hey, where'd you come from? What powwow are you going to next? Right. And it's just really fun.
And am I right, your daughter is also a Jingle dress dancer?
She is, yes. She dances Jingle.
Oh, wow.
She kind of didn't really do it growing up just because I was a single mom and I just had to work all the time. Yeah. So we didn't really attend powwows growing up, but now she's in it. She's dancing. She's 18 now, so she's in the adult categories, which is more competitive. Yeah. But she loves it.
Wow.
Yes.
That's really special that you can share that connection.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Well, thanks for telling us about Jingle dancing. I was so excited to talk to you about that, but like we do on the Rochester Local Podcast, I've got a bunch of questions that I want to ask you. So should we dive in?
Yes.
Okay. Ready? I love this question. What makes you good at your job?
And I think I'm good at my job because I'm very organized. Yeah. And I can talk to anybody that comes to me and asks for help, and I do my best to navigate it. And I know the logistics of like scheduling, and it's just, I don't know. I think I have a lot of good skills that come to this job. And my background's actually in media. I got a 2-year degree for mass communications. Yeah. And so
that helps.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
The superintendent has a pretty public job. Yes. Right? Lots of communication there. Yeah. What is the clerk position? What do you do with that position?
Yeah, so I help create the agendas for the school board meetings. We help decide which agenda items would be put onto a meeting. Okay. We have to do like the business side of it, and we also do just outreach, and we have to contact all these people making presentations.
I suppose that's a lot of work.
Yep, the community members that want to come speak to the school board, I help coordinate those requests, and Yeah, it's just a lot. To put like a school district this big, there's like, 3,000 employees, 17,500 students, around that much. I mean,
Wow.
last I knew.
Wow. It's been a lively couple of years
Yes.
at the old school board meetings.
Yes. It's interesting.
We'll leave it at that. What is something you find really interesting about Rochester?
I think it's a really interesting community from the Destination Medical Center, a part of it. There's a lot of professionals that live here. So there's not a whole lot of downtown life, I feel like. I mean, I don't go downtown too often, so I don't know, it's just diverse.
Yeah.
But I don't like the lack of Native Americans in this area.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me in that way.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a reason for that?
There's just not really a tribe that lives here. So I grew up actually in Tama, Iowa, and that's where our tribe exists. It's the only settlement in the United States. Then I also lived in northern Minnesota where I'm enrolled in, and that's a reservation. It has a bunch of reservations around it.
Yeah.
So there's like an Indian community like right there that, grew up there. This one doesn't have that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. How did you find your community then when you ended up in Rochester? How did you associate with other Native Americans, or was that hard to find other Native Americans in Rochester?
Yeah, it was. But actually, I used to work at Mayo Clinic, and they have this group called Celebrate Dakota. And I was like, well, I'm not Dakota, so I'm not going to join this group. And one of my friends was like, hey, yeah, you should come to these meetings. I'm like, but I'm not Dakota. And they're like, oh, it's actually not just Dakota. It's any Native American. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Let me try.
Yeah.
So then I met some there. Then we became part of this American Indian Parent Advisory Committee for the school district. I met more there. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's more that live here than I thought.
Right. So those two groups have been really helpful
Yes.
to make connections.
Yep.
And I suppose you're really tight-knit again.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. What's the worst advice you have ever received?
Well, I don't know about the advice. I just don't like when people say, well, it is what it is, as if something can't be changed or so you can't improve something. You try to be positive and help.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Yeah, well, what if it doesn't have to be?
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
What can we do to change that?
Yeah, let's make it better.
Right. Well, that's a good, you know what? I say that a lot though. It is, well, now you've got me thinking, Lori. Maybe I do say that sometimes. It's like, well, it is what it is. Somebody, did something or said something. Maybe I say it more in relation to what people say or do to me.
Okay.
Or what a person could say or do. But that's a really good point, is if there's something out there, meaning in our world, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But does it have to be?
Yeah. Things can change.
Right.
Hopefully for the better.
I love that. Ooh, thought-provoking, Lori. I love that. Let's get you on a ballot somewhere, huh?
I don't know about that.
I do. What is one random or eccentric fact about yourself?
Okay, so most people know me as I'm into video making. I like pictures, or I don't know, I'm organized. I'm a single mom. But one thing that people don't really know about me is I'm a certified personal trainer.
Wow.
I don't look like it.
Oh, come on.
People are thinking personal trainers are buff and,
Strength comes in all shapes and all sizes.
Right.
Right?
Actually, I told a friend I was a certified personal trainer, and she kind of snickered, and I was like,
hey,
that wasn't nice.
No, that's not nice at all. That's amazing. How did that come about?
I've always been interested in health. So I became really unhealthy for a while, and I started looking into how can I improve this? It is what it is. Well, it doesn't have to be. So I started looking into okay, what can I eat differently?
Yeah.
What can I do differently? And then I started feeling better when I started working out.
Right.
I would go to a climbing wall. I would go swimming. I would go running. And after all those activities, I felt great.
Yeah.
I felt good.
Yeah.
Even though during the time you're huffing and puffing. But then afterwards you're like, wow, I did that.
Yeah. Right, that adrenaline rush and
Yeah.
all those good hormones and endorphins that run through your body when
Yes,
you
it's real.
do a good... Yeah, so you just took that one step further and you
did.
got certified as a personal trainer.
Yes, I did.
Wow. When was that?
Just last year.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. I'm not doing anything with it as far as like financially, but
That's a...
it helps me and helps
Right.
other people when
It's an
they're saying,
achievement.
hey, this is going on with me. Oh, my arms are too,
Yeah.
whatever, whatever the case. I'm like, well, you can try this.
Sure.
And so,
Yeah.
Just
It
free
doesn't always
advice.
you don't always have to monetize something that you're passionate about, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you just put that feather in your cap, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fill in the blank. Rochester needs a what?
Indoor track.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the wintertime, that's when it's like hard to like go out and socialize. There's not
Mhm.
many activities. And it's dangerous on the ice,
Yeah.
or like women in general are danger.
Right.
Like, I just want somewhere safe to be and exercise.
Running in a run in an indoor track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's one at the Rack and the Dulk and
Yeah, but they're
RCTC.
they're small and you need to be a
There's
member or
restrictions,
whatever.
or
Yeah.
it costs a lot.
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Like a kind of like a community-based indoor track.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, we don't really necessarily even have like a field house or anything like this,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That is a new idea that no one has said yet. That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Who out there in podcast land can make an indoor field house
Right.
happen, right? I like that idea, an indoor field house. All right, you have out-of-town visitors. Where
Mhm.
is one place you will absolutely take them?
It's really funny because I really didn't know where to go. When I first came to Rochester before I even moved here, I went to Silver Lake and I went to a paddle boat and rented a canoe and just tried things out.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then when my mom came to visit me one time after I moved here, she was like, "Oh, let's try this place here. It's called Flapdoodles. What is it?" I'm like, "I'm not sure." So we went there. I'm like, "Oh, I love ice cream so much." So it'll be Flapdoodles.
Flapdoodles.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean...
it's so good. I love ice cream. It's my weakness.
Uh-huh. What's
so
your favorite flavor?
Oh, I think the goose tracks.
Oh, that's a good one. So one of my favorite flavors at Flapdoodles, and they don't have it as often. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have it at Christmas. Cinnamon.
Oh,
I know.
it's just cinnamon?
Cinnamon.
Huh.
Cinnamon.
I've seen that one.
Cinnamon ice cream.
Yeah.
Or like gingerbread. I like that one too.
Yes.
I love, or like whatever they might call it. It's gingerbread flavor or something like this. My husband, he just gets the straight Cookie Monster,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
blue one, like the kids all get. He
Yeah.
gets it too.
Oh, I used to get that too when I first started. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. Let me try that one.
Right. I know. So
I'm a grown-up, I promise.
debatable. Jury's out. What's the last photo you took on your phone?
Oh, actually, yeah, I was looking at this before I came. And actually the last thing that's in my, photo part of it is actually a video from the last powwow I've been to.
Yeah.
And it was of men's fancy dancers. And they are a sight to see at powwows because they are athletic.
Yeah.
They do all kinds of crazy tricks and they dance so quickly.
Yeah.
Because my dad used to dance fancy.
Uh-huh.
And my son actually expressed interest in being a fancy dancer.
Really?
And so I was like, oh man, I need to get some ideas on how to make an outfit for him.
Right.
So that's the last thing that was actually on my phone.
So explain fancy, what a fancy dancer is.
Okay, so there's men's and women's.
Mm-hmm.
But the men have two big bustles on, like one on the top and one on the back
Uh-huh.
behind them. And they dance like the fast songs, the sneaky songs, like they all, like have a beat that's really quick and you have to stop right on time. And you get like judged on that. Like, did you know the song? Did you know when to stop?
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah. And it's so fun to watch because they're so like, oh my God, did they stop? Yes, they did. You know?
Wow. So do they have to know the songs and there's are there steps to every song or are they allowed to freestyle?
Freestyle.
Okay.
But you have to keep up with the beat.
So you have to keep up with the beat,
Yeah.
but you freestyle
Yeah.
but you have to know the song because you have to be able to stop when
That's
the
what-
song stops.
That's what gets the points is if you stop on time.
Wow.
And usually you have to know the songs, but sometimes you can kind of gauge like if a song was going to stop or anything,
Wow. And then you just said, so your son is interested in fancy dance, but you would make?
Yeah.
You would make, does everybody make their own?
Not everybody because, you can order it, but it's costly. People pay a lot of money to have their outfits made for them.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to like have my own knowledge of how to make this.
Right. And so you would source the material and the supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be fabric, and what else would go into making?
Fabric, ribbons, and bustles are different. Sometimes they're made out of eagle feathers.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not, but I don't really know what's made, I didn't grow up knowing this, so I have to figure things out.
Wow. And I suppose you'd have to figure out where you would source eagle feathers.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
All of this is how old is your son?
He's 20.
Wow. So does he go to powwows too then with do you all go attend as a family?
Yeah, so he came with me last weekend to Shakopee in Mystic Lake.
So neat.
Yeah.
I love this.
And he was like, yeah, I think I could do it. He's really in shape.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool. A family of jingle dancers and a fancy dancer. I love this. All right. What are 3 things you love?
My kids. I love my kids. I want them to be great at everything and be happy. Happiness.
Yeah.
I used to not be happy. There was like, I had postpartum depression and I didn't really know that like, at the time. And I, pursued happiness.
Right.
And it feels so great.
Right. Yeah. So you love the pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And ice cream.
To be clear, goose tracks.
Goose tracks.
Ice cream
Flapdoodles
from
ice cream.
Flapdoodles, right? Let's be specific. I love those 3 things. What are 2 things your friends would say about you?
Oh. I get called a lot as Superwoman because I've been a single mom forever. And I raised my kids by myself.
Right.
I moved here by myself. And so Superwoman and
yes, I would say so.
Healthy. People always think, oh, she knows how to be healthy. Just because I've always been trying to like, tell people, hey, you should try this. You should try that. Do this, do that for like health.
Right. So those are 2 things that your friends will say about you?
Yes.
Yeah. I like the Superwoman one. That's a good one. All right. So maybe you don't eat burgers. Maybe you do. But if you do, what's the best Rochester burger?
My favorite is hot chips.
Oh.
I really like hot chips.
Yes.
I go with the vegan burgers.
Yes.
They are so tasty.
They are very tasty. So how would you prepare your burger? How do you order it?
Well, I
your
get the
vegan burger.
I get the Mr. Lebowski or You're Killing Me Smalls.
Yes.
Those are my 2 favorites.
So what do you put on it then?
Well, it comes
just how it comes. So you don't do anything special. So you get them just like that.
Yep.
Perfect.
But I eat other burgers. Like I go to Newt sometime.
Oh yeah.
Hot chip is my go-to.
They're your go-to. Do you ever DoorDash it?
No, it's expensive already.
I know. It's the DoorDashing gets a little. Sometimes I've been guilty. Though I will DoorDash. Okay. I will DoorDash things that are very close.
That's okay.
That's my guilt. That is my guilty pleasure. I will DoorDash things that are ridiculously close.
That's totally fine.
Shameful. I mean, it really is shameful. What are 2 things? Nope, I already did that one. What's the best Rochester adventure you've been on, or the Rochester area?
I think before I moved here, when I was trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to live in Minnesota? And they said Rochester's the 3rd largest city in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to check this out.
Yeah.
And I came here with my kids. That's when I went to Silver Lake and went to Quarry Hill, drove around. It was just like, it was fun because you didn't have any responsibilities that day,
right.
Yeah.
So you just kind of just like drove around and got to know the city.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, look, there's a lake over there. Oh, we can rent stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fun. You just kind of decided to check the city out.
Yeah.
What else did you see when you're doing that?
Just a lot of city life.
Yeah.
I really like city life because there's so much to do. There's so much things to eat and, options. Right. I come from a really small town in Tama, Iowa, which is, combined with Toledo, it's like maybe 5,000 people.
Oh, yeah. Small. Small. So there's a lot of options for eating and a lot of options for doing things. And there's always a full calendar and there's always things going on. And
Thursdays downtown.
Yes.
down by
Right.
Riverside.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I know I'm plugging my own calendar here, but I look at my own calendar on the weekend and there's at least 20 plus 30 on any given weekend. 30
Yes.
things to do.
Yes.
30.
So
30.
much fun.
30. So is there anything that you'd like to add or to talk about or to say to any of our listeners?
Yeah, so I am Native American. It's okay to ask questions to Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm open.
Yeah.
I want people to learn about Native
Mhm.
Americans
Mm-hmm.
instead of knowing just what you learn from schools, because that's inaccurate.
Right. So if someone does have a question, what's a great way that someone could approach you or get to know you or ask questions? I think maybe some people just don't because maybe they don't want to be disrespectful. And we're learning that that's not how we need to approach it. So how would you love to be approached?
Maybe like someone could come up to me and say, "Hey, I heard you on this podcast." And then, kind of introduce like, "Oh, I know it's an invitation.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you questions about powwows or
Mm-hmm.
just your life or, whatever."
Yeah.
I think I'm totally okay with it. Some people might not be.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm just really appreciative that you were willing to talk about your life in such an open way on this podcast, and also for that invitation for people to talk more with you.
Yes.
It's really great. And if people were looking to become involved in the Native American Parent Committee at Rochester Public Schools, how could they do that?
They would contact Amelia Cordell or Tucker Quitone,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on their website how to
Okay.
contact them.
Amelia Cordell. I like Amelia. Hi, Amelia. I haven't met her. I haven't met Tucker yet, but I'm sure you're great too, Tucker. So they can contact Amelia or Tucker
Yep.
to become involved, and
Yes.
that information is on the Rochester Public Schools website,
It is. Yep.
which is brand new.
Brand new as of Friday.
Shout out to the communications team.
Mom Sue Knutson.
Shout out to Mom Sue, because that's a great website, and that took a
Yes.
lot of work.
Yes.
Podcast number 4, Mom Sue Knutson. She
Yes.
was on.
I
Yeah.
love her.
She is great. So, so thank you so much for opening up about your Native American heritage and telling us a little bit more about.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right. So that's it for my questions. So now my mom, who is the historian in the family, recently found this book, Capers and Codgers, Selected Stories of Local History, published by the Olmsted County Historical Society, 1963.
Wow.
So this in itself is an artifact talking about history. So we're talking history, talking about history, which I think is really fun. I don't know where she found this, but I marked 2 things that I thought would be really funny to read.
Okay.
Funny. When does the next mail leave? This is a little excerpt from this book. All right. This is about Rochester, Minnesota. The next time you drop a letter off at the post office, think about this one. If you would have mailed that letter at Rochester's first post office, which was the log home of Robert McReady, you would have paid 3 cents for its delivery, providing it was not going to be sent over 3,000 miles. This would have been 2 pennies cheaper than today. So it was 5 cents to send a letter in 1963. Of course, you would have had to wait a couple days for the next stage from St. Paul to pick up the letter, but this was good service. Not many communities had 3 stages a week providing prompt service for the mail. That is, from November to April, there were 3 stages. Other months, there was only 1 mail pickup a week. But for 3 cents a letter, who could kick? And how cheaply the post office was run. During the first quarter of its operation, the postmaster's salary was the only expense, and it totaled $10.34. That was a salary for 1 quarter.
Oh.
For 1 quarter, which left the net proceeds at $2.72.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
No, I don't even know what's the postage now.
Isn't it 55 cents? Isn't it, what is it, 60 cents? 55 cents?
I just buy a booklet and I don't really use
Right.
it.
So what really struck me is that, okay, so in the first postmaster, the log home of Robert McReady, So that was the first, whenever Rochester was incorporated, which I think was in the 1860s, I think. So it was 3 cents to mail a letter then. And then it was 5 cents to mail a letter in the 60s. Okay. And now, so however much time passed between that, like 80 years. And then now it's 55 cents.
It's like
There's
60 years.
There's some crazy inflation going on here, right?
Inflation is horrible.
So something happened there to mail a letter. It got a little expensive. It's not as economical as it used to be. And something tells me that the postmaster's salary increased a little bit more too between Q1, as it should have been. $10.34. That means that the postmaster was making approximately $51 a year.
Wow. It probably was okay.
Yeah. Had a family of 6,
Right.
had a log home. Right?
I actually remember when we used to pay 98 cents per gallon of fuel, gasoline. Yes.
The cheapest I ever filled up a tank of gas was in the 18th Avenue Casey's in Rochester, Minnesota.
Okay.
Over, 18th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
78 cents.
Wow.
Yes, I will never forget it. 78 cents. It was like $10. $9.
Yes.
Never. It was in my 88 Ford Taurus.
Wow.
Could never happen. Okay, here's another one.
Okay.
It was the law. Paging through the ordinances of the city of Rochester, the writer, whoever that is, of this, I guess, made the following discoveries. In 1866, it was illegal to drive a horse, cow, or ox across a city bridge at a faster gait than a walk. In 1872, it was illegal to swim in the Zumbro River between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. In 1878, it was illegal for a cab driver to swear while on duty. In 1859, the city constable was charged with the duty of catching all pigs running at large on the streets and placing them in the city pound. In 1862, it was illegal to drive your horse over a city sidewalk. And in 1863, Rochester had an official called the Measurer of Wood and the Weigher of Hay. His job was to honestly weigh all hay and measure all wood sold in the city.
Wow. That's very specific.
Is it not? I guess the times they are changing. But it was illegal to swim in the Zumbro River between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. When else are you supposed to swim in the river?
Right, that's when it's hotter.
Like you could only swim in the river between 9:01 p.m. through the night to 5:59 a.m.
That is crazy. That's like dangerous.
I wonder if it was because of like sawmills and industry and... AJ just said they didn't have swimming trunks, so everyone was naked. Like, what? I mean, they had like brewing on the river. Didn't they have a brewer?
Schuster's, yeah.
Schuster's.
But they weren't on the river.
That's very curious. If anybody knows why no one was allowed to swim in a perfectly fine river between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m., maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it's 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. That would make a lot more sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
The only thing I can think of is if they were doing logging, they might have been using the river to move logs.
Maybe that's something that we need to look up, because a perfectly fine river that no one was able to swim in 1872.
The St. Croix River in Stillwater to float logs down the river.
I don't know. The Zumbro was too winding, though. Anybody out there listening, let me know why no one could swim in the Zumbro River in 1872. Everybody had to swim at night. Anyways, there's our little Rochester history. But you brought a sticker, didn't you?
I did.
You want to put it on our sticker board?
Yeah, so
Tell us all about it.
People's Food Co-op.
People's Food Co-op.
I used to work there. They have fabulous people, fabulous food and drinks.
What's your favorite thing at People's Food Co-op?
Annie.
Annie in aisle 1. Annie, we love you.
And Bonnie.
Yup. What's your favorite thing to eat there?
Oh. Well, if I go there for lunch, it's awesome wrap.
Yes.
I love it.
Mine is the ultimate turkey sandwich.
Oh.
Would do a lot of things with that sandwich.
Yeah.
I love that sandwich. There you go.
Right.
Put it right up there.
Put it up here.
Perfect. Look at my sticker board. It's really starting to look great, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Looks like the bathroom over at Taco Jed.
Yes, it's right. That's true. Well, Lori, it has been a delight to have you in the Rochester Local Studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, it's been great to talk all about jingle dancing.
Yes.
And thank you so much for joining us on another episode of the Rochester Local Podcast. And I hope to see you out and about.